Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where today here in Italy is going to be epic. We're in Sant'Agata, Bolognese, the home of Lamborghini. In fact, this is the Lamborghini HQ and factory where the raging bulls are born. Now, when it comes to Lamborghini's few-off series hypercars, I have been exceptionally lucky to drive nearly all of them. To date, I've been behind the wheel of the Lamborghini Reventon, the Lamborghini Veneno, the Centenario, the Sian, not the Sesto Elemento, but I'm excluding that because it's track only. However, there's one other that's been eluding me, and that car is sitting right here, the Lamborghini Countach LPI800-4. And today, Lamborghini have very kindly allowed me to borrow the keys to take this car out for a drive. This car, with its 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12 combined with the Supercapacitor 48-volt electric system, over 800 brake horsepower, a car that was introduced as the 50th anniversary nod and throwback to an icon, the original Countach. In fact, the specification of this car pays tribute to Ferruccio Lamborghini's very own Lamborghini Countach from back in the 1970s. Today, I'm going to take this for a drive. Let's have a quick look around, go through the details, get it started and get out onto the roads. I could not be more excited right now for what's about to happen, to go out for a drive in this, the factory's Lamborghini Countach, the new Countach. Now, I have in fact seen this very car before. It normally resides in the museum just over that away. It's also been out to plenty of events, but after this, I will have driven all 5 of the road-going few-off series Lambo hypercars. That is ridiculous. Before we get this V12 roared up though, I want to take you for a quick walk around to discuss what exactly this car is all about and nod back to that original iconic Lamborghini Countach, a car that arrived 5 decades ago, and in fact this arrived as a 2022 model year car to celebrate that 50th anniversary of one of the most famous Lamborghinis of all. And there are design elements that you see in this from all sorts of different models of the Countach, which had a build run of nearly 2 decades since the original prototype launched back in 1972. In fact, Countach, by the way, the word comes from the Piedmontese region, a word that effectively expresses shock, a bit like goodness, if you will, standing out, because that is what it is all about. And that's what so many Lamborghinis are all about as well. Now, the word, or the name I should say, of this is also the LPI800-4. That stands for Longitudinale Posteriore Ibrido, longitudinal V12 posteriore, engine towards the back, Ibrido, because it is a hybrid, 800 plus horsepower and 4-wheel drive. You also have the 7-speed automated manual gearbox that we know, of course, from the Aventador, based on the Aventador platform, hence the 6.5 litre V12 that you have back here. But we need to take all of this in because there's so much to it. Now, this particular car is the number 0, if you will, of the 112 units, because the original Countach's model reference code name was LP112, a very nice nod right there. And if you take in some of the design, like for example these very horizontal lines that you have running across the front, you've actually got the Countach logo tucked in under there, obviously having to work with all of the technology at play as well. New design to the headlights, full carbon fiber bodywork, some areas exposed as you can see as we look around. You've got these Nakaduct style carbon openings here for the cooling towards the engine, these gills, if you will, like the original LP400 and LP500 derivatives of the Countach. This is actually a photochromatic roof that you can make darker or lighter depending how you'd like it to be as well over the top, and similar lines to that of the Countach as well. And then come around towards the back, look at the design here. Look at the way this is shaped, the way it slices straight underneath towards the rear tyres, with that quad exhaust tailpipe set up in the centre, even having these cut arches, a bit like the LP5000 Quattrovalvole, one of the later derivatives of the Countach, and even some elements of the 25th anniversary into this as well. Now, this particular car is in the same, or tribute specification, we could say, to Ferruccio Lamborghini's very own Countach. The paint is Bianco Siderale. It's metallic white paint with blue fleck. And if you get it out into the sunshine later, we're going to see some of that blue pearl coming through. Inside though, we have a heritage style with the leather and the stitching that you have here, the bright red contrasting against that white with the square pattern, as you can see through the seats. A lot of familiarity to the interior of the car from the Aventador platform, of course, and we'll get onto a lot more of this in just a moment, but take a quick look around. It is really quite the thing. Now I want to fold the seat forwards because I'd like to pop open the engine bay, and the latch to do so is just behind the driver's seat in here. So let's fold this forwards very quickly. I can reach through and just give a pull of the latch to come and show you this. Of course, it's about this engine, the 6.5 litre naturally aspirated V12 with the firing order on the plaque that you have just there. The combustion engine creating 780 horsepower, supplemented by an additional 34 horsepower from that electric setup for 814 horsepower in total. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, 62 miles an hour in the Countach is dispatched in only 2.8 seconds. Onto 200 kilometers an hour from a standstill, that's 124 miles an hour in only 8.6 seconds. And a top speed, get this, of 355 kilometers an hour, 221 miles per hour. Let me close this back down though, because I think we need to get this car started. It's time to take it out for a drive to experience what it's all about. So let me take a seat on board and let's get it started. Join me in here then, delicately does it, into the multi-million euro, dollar, pound, however you'd like to look at it, Lamborghini Countach. Now, as with Aventadors and the other models, we have this flap in the center, one press just to wake up the ignition. Let's pop it into sport, and then let's press the magic button and get this car started. Oh yes, the sound of power, a very familiar sound, but one I'm looking forward to going and driving. So let's go. I've popped it back to Strada, park brake off. I'm going to use the lift system, in fact, because the front of this car is very low. But here we go. Come along for the experience with me, driving the new Lamborghini Countach. This is absolutely ridiculous to think that I'm driving this car. It has just shy of 50,000 kilometers on it. This is the car that you will have seen if you've read a review, watched a video featuring a factory Countach. It is this exact one, and it's still in remarkable shape considering. So lift system back down. It's very calm and chilled to begin with in Strada mode as we are at the moment, just heading out through the factory gates, past the reception and the museum, where we can see some of the cars up top, to go for a little drive and get a feel for what this is all about. Now I've got a route set that's going to take us to some pretty cool places. I'm paranoid about every dip while I'm driving this thing. Oh, never trust an indicator. He had his right hand indicator on. Right, comfortable, mirrors are good, I can see quite well, and I'm ready to pull out onto the road. In the Aventador generation you have the old school indicators, not yet on the steering wheel, as we roll out and get started and get on the move. Obviously there's no hiding when you're in this thing, there is no hiding at all. I don't even know what I'm driving. It just feels absurd how far ahead of me the windshield rake reaches. The roof shape up above as well, it's completely unique for the Countach, very different and unfamiliar, and the way it's designed with the stitching and the piping as well is really, really cool. It's a slightly new road layout just here to what I'm familiar with. That gearbox, we'll talk more about that when we start building things up a little bit more. But this is cool. Let's go into sport. Let's actually go into manual as well, because to be honest, you need to drive this thing as if it's a manual gearbox car. I'm driving a Countach. I'm driving the new Countach. I've been looking forward to this one. I've been really looking forward to getting behind the wheel of one and getting to experience this for the first time. Obviously sits super flat through a corner. Unreal. Let's get out to some nice roads. Oh yeah. I'm back up into sport, and now we have some open roads, although looking at the snow on the hillside, which is certainly a little bit concerning. And I tell you what, this thing is an absolute beast. It is is a brute of a car. It is a very raw experience. It is very loud, and it feels like a ludicrous thing to be hurtling down a road like this. We're going to head to some even tighter and twistier stuff, but in sport, when you downshift, you get all of these pops, crackles, and just loud noises going on. When you put your foot flat on the throttle, it just shoots away like a rocket. Now, one of the interesting things about the supercapacitor and the way that it works is effectively it fills the gap during the shift. Now, because there's this little wait for it to go up into the next gear, it uses that time to unleash all of the additional electric power, which is quite an interesting concept and approach to take to managing this, I suppose. Down here though, which is obviously slightly bumpy, it just feels like an insane thing to be driving. I'm looking at the snow and just hoping that we're not heading to that, because it would be a little bit of a problem. I don't even know what I'm doing at the moment driving in this. You can be going the speed limit and it feels like you're driving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, just because of how much there is going on around you, how much is going on. Now, given that the road is basically empty, if I slow it down a notch and go up into Corsa, this makes things super, super firm, but to accelerate quite hard for a moment, Corsa is the fastest shift, and it is so aggressive. It's so aggressive. To have the smoothest possible drive, you lift your foot slightly off the throttle, as with any automated manual gearbox. But if you keep your foot planted, that's when it just gives you this whack in the back that propels the car in a way that is very, very, very unfamiliar. All meanwhile, you've got this feeling that you're sat in this really low wedge because of the shape of the rails right over the side of your shoulder. In fact, this feels like it's next to me, given how small it is inside here. Tarmac here is a little bit smoother. Let me just wait for it, wait for it. Oh, it just kicks you. It just kicks you. Oh, okay, back down to sport. I find that a little bit less over the top, shall we say. Wow, the scenery around here. I never thought I would be driving a Lamborghini Countach surrounded by snow. It's 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, as it just lets me know that it's 5 degrees now, hence warning, ice on road. Hopefully no ice on the road, because that would be a problem in a car like this. It's very trusting of Lamborghini to let me take this thing out. Oh wow. Oh wow, where we are right now. This is cool. This route is actually where Lamborghini have chosen to send me today. It doesn't necessarily feel right for a car like this, because it's so low to the ground, so wide, and dare I say it, so awkward to drive it correctly that you just want some wide, smooth tarmac, open space, lots of room to maneuver it, and you don't want all of these bumps and uncomfortable parts of road as we now head up a bit of a pass, I think, which I'm totally okay with. Look at this, through the woodlands, surrounded by snow, although I apologise to them that this is probably going to come back a little bit dirtier than I took it out today. Look at this. Driving a Countach on a mountain pass surrounded by snow. This isn't normal life. This isn't what's supposed to happen. I'm completely okay with this. Obviously 4-wheel drive if we do encounter any snow on the road itself. Gosh, this must look so cool from the outside up here. Around these corners. What on earth am I doing right now? What absolute madness is this? to be driving the bright white Countach on a day like today, snow across all of the hills, pretty overcast, it has to be said, on a road like this. I mean, look at this. This is absolutely crazy. This is absolutely crazy with this car here. Oh my goodness. This is cool to a whole new level. This is, I can't even quite put this into words right now. I'm just kind of lost and taking it all in. It's thankfully above freezing, otherwise it would be a whole lot more unpleasant being up here. This car's just an event and a half to drive. It's so much about the raw experience. I don't know how people drive Aventadors on a daily basis, and I know a lot of people who do, and it just, every time I think about that as a concept, it's like, how with this gearbox? But to bring it out for a day like today, and to do this, I'm speechless. This is just unbelievable. What a cool place to have brought it. And the road just continues up this way. There's even more fun ahead of us. Good times. Back on the move, this pass just goes on and on, snaking up the hillside, surrounded by snow. This is not a normal feeling, not a normal sight, but what an unbelievable experience. What a time of year to be here, to be driving this. I'm glad we're not in the middle of a snowstorm. That would be a little bit more terrifying, but this as it is, I'm just enjoying a moment, backing off the pace, just taking in the scenery, the surroundings, the beauty of this location, everything about where we are and what we're doing, as I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to go further up the hill here, working out my route. Next 2.7 kilometers, continuously twisty. I'm all right with that, you know. I'm completely all right with that. You don't normally think of a car like this, a big, beastly, powerful, wide, huge machine, and think that it's the right thing to be driving up a pass. But as I said, for experiences, I mean, look at this. Just look at what I'm taking in right now through the trees. Conscious also that it is a bit rough and bumpy on the tarmac, so I can't exactly put all the power down. I don't know if I'm going to be able to brake in time for the next hairpin, the next corner. This is unbelievable. This is absolutely unbelievable. First gear. My goodness. Quite literally, Countach, that's what you say right now. That is what you say right now. Down and away from the snowy hills, and this has just been, I don't really know how to put it into words. I drove either right here or very similar roads to this not all that long ago in the Aventador Ultimate, the last, quite literally as it translates, Aventador, and that was kind of overwhelming in some ways. I think it was probably this exact stretch of tarmac that I'm on right now as it happens. So perhaps I'm a little bit more accustomed to the size of the car and how to manage it down the bumps and the terrain that you have here. I don't know how to explain the feelings from this, the sensations, the just completely all-encompassing, overwhelming overload that is driving this thing in this kind of location. And you know, this is a €2 million plus car. This is a serious piece of equipment, a very rare car with only 112 customer cars in existence, and this being the factory car. They've literally pulled it out of the museum to let me take it for a drive. This car has been residing, as I said, living in the museum at the moment, and they have kindly serviced it, prepped it, pulled it out, and let me take the keys today to just be able to share what it's about and the passion of it. And even driving up here in the snow, the number of people that I've gone past who have whipped out a camera phone and just started recording or taken a picture, a dad and his son that were out on a little skate kind of thing, just stopped what they were doing and waved. And that's the automotive passion that you don't see anywhere else. But here in Motor Valley, it's unlike anything else. It's just, I don't know, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's machinery like this that makes it happen, that gets people like that, that inspires so many, encourages so many. And just today for me has been, I don't really know how to put it in words. You know, we go in a corner like this, and I'm not going to lie, this car's a bit of rubbish for it. It's awful on these kind of bumps and in slow speed moves and that kind of stuff. But on the other hand, you open it up a bit and it's just something else. It's just an experience unlike any other. I think we need to get ourselves back to base though. The light is quickly going down and I'm hoping to park this up before we're in the dark. So yeah, a gentle cruise from here back towards the Lamborghini factory. Having just driven around Rotunda Miura, the Miura roundabout, there's not much crazier than arriving back in Sant'Agata Bolognese in a Countach, in the ultimate current Lamborghini, with car transporters going past, and you always wonder, what's inside? Although around here, probably something pretty cool. But we're gonna head back towards the main HQ. In fact, I'm going to see if I can park this right in front of the museum entrance, that iconic traditional Lamborghini location. You know, to be around here, having visited here obviously many times before. I've brought my Huracan STO out here. We came to take a look at the Huracan assembly line. I've taken a look at the Urus Performante here as well, in the new facility for the Urus. And having come here many times a decade plus ago to spot cars, to see cars like this coming in and out, and to now be driving down this road in this thing, turning into the driveway, which has recently been remodeled and changed. And to be honest, this bit of road out here needs to be remodeled and changed as well. But this is just, I don't really know what else I can say, you know. This feels special. This feels very, very, very special. But I want to park it up just here because I'd like to show you a lot more around the car itself, the inside, and a few last things outside before I go and hand the keys back to the team here at Lamborghini after what has been an incredibly fun drive. But yeah, here we are. I parked my car in exactly this spot, and now I'm parking the Countach on this spot. Would you believe it? Well, I had to move the car back to where we began. They weren't too happy with using that space at this time, so here we are in the Countach. Let me show you a little bit more around this interior. In particular, check out these 3D printed air vents. The way they've done that with the design and the styling, it's actually really, really nice. Obviously lots of leather, the pinstripe accent, all of the exposed carbon fibre, lots of familiar controls for your mirrors, the door lock, your switches just tucked in around here for your lights, for example, and a few new elements on the display I'm just going to mention. So for example, your 48-volt super cap display that you have here, the battery charge. Over this side you have the recharge and the e-boost, so when you're shifting you see the e-boost using additional power, and then of course it charges back up outside of that. This display is the Strada screen. If I pop it up into sport, the colours change, and then Corsa, everything goes red, as they do in other Lambo models basically, and then slightly different displays as well for your temperatures and pressures and fuel gauge and stuff that you have all around. Obviously a speedo in the bottom right. The steering wheel, as we've known it throughout the lifespan of the Aventador, really quite old school now, it has to be said, but some nice details. The Tricolore just down there at the bottom, for example. Then this is obviously the new infotainment panel display that was introduced with the Centenario, I want to say, and you find in the STO and a few other cars, where obviously you have your settings and things that you can go through. In here, we'll turn it back to the main screen. You have a specific display for the hybrid system, radio, telephone, media, apps if you want your CarPlay, for example, as well, controls, lift system and things that you find here, climate control, selection of your modes, reverse, manual, electronic park brake, and the switch if you'd like to put the wing up at the back manually. There's a Countach embroidery on the knee pad just there, which is quite a nice touch as well, and lots of these familiar Y shapes that you have throughout the bodywork and the design, the nice quilting and stitching, the Supercap badge because all of the battery stuff is right back there, minimal view back behind you, and then this photochromatic piece of glass up on the roof which you can change and be able to see through or have that set exactly as you would like. So it's a really, really cool place to be still. It's a bit old school. They updated it with having a digital screen, but still a very, very cool thing. Opening the doors, you press in here, pull that up, the door goes up, push it with your elbow. Lambo doors. Wouldn't be one without, really, would it? The illuminated Countach tills. But this, the sound of this is just silly. Anyway, turn it off in gear in here maybe? Press the button. And we're off. Now, there's no dignified way to exit an Aventador platform with the carbon fibre tub, but what a drive this has been. The car is slightly dirtier than it was when we began earlier. I apologise to them for that, but we have been on some amazing roads in some spectacular scenery, and just appreciating what this is about. It's a link back to the past. The fact that this car is spec'd in the colour scheme of Ferruccio Lamborghini's original Countach is just like the icing on the cake of a car that's all about the design work of Centro Stile, Micha Borkert and his team there, creating something that links back. You see all of these nods, but modernised. You know, it's the fact that it has this indent running across the front with the Countach badging, but that sits right over the top of a completely modern carbon fibre splitter. Obviously carbon bodywork throughout. There is a small storage area in the front, in fact, just to show you exactly how this works, given that we're being thorough with this. I pull a lever just down here in the driver's footwell, come round, and then the catch for this is just on this side, slightly awkward to find. That pops open, and while it's the smallest of small openings, it does actually extend a bit down inside, so you can fit some things down there, plus there's a 12-volt socket should you need it. But that's not exactly what you're using a Countach for. This is the kind of car that you take out for a special occasion, for a special drive, for an experience. That's what it's all about. It's all about the experience. And today has been out of this world. I've now been lucky to drive all 5 of the road-going few-off Lamborghini cars, few-off series cars, whether that's the one of 20 Reventon, they also made 15 Roadsters, one of the 3 Veneno coupes, there were 9 Roadsters, I drove a Roadster, then there were 20 Centenario coupes, 20 Centenario Roadsters, then there were 63 Sians and 19 Sian Roadsters, and finally 112 of the Countach. That's been really cool. A big thank you to everyone here at Lamborghini who made this possible, to get this car set up, to take it out for a drive today. It has been mind-blowing, but the sun is now setting here in Sant'Agata Bolognese after the most epic of days. That was the sound of an STO in the background. That's it for now though. Thank you very much for your support as always, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed coming along to get a feel for what this special thing is all about. I'll see you again soon. Cheers.